7?
Yep.
Okay, 7 o'clock. Welcome to the Lunenburg Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm going to tell you that I have to give you a notification, but I will give you how we'll proceed. This hearing is being recorded in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law. Please be advised that this meeting will be broadcast live through local access cable, although we're not having Zoom tonight, Patrick, right?
What's that? Nope.
Okay. On Facebook Live, on the Public Access Facebook page, and will be found on the Lunenburg Public Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. And with that, I'll reintroduce the board. To my left is Lisa Normandy, the board secretary. I'm Alfred Gravel, James Bezikoski, Hans Winthrop, Patrick Callahan, Tony Nicastro, Don Gurney, and Steve Duba. The way the hearing would normally be, we would read the application. This is a continuance of a hearing from December 13th. We continued the hearing to allow on a visual height of the building, the proposed new project. So again, the applicant will have the opportunity for comments on the application or submission of additional documents. You'll please come forward to the mic, give your name and address. Board members will have the opportunity to ask questions that they might have on the application while you are at the mic. There will be a public comment period. You'll please come forward to the mic, give your name and address, and please address all comments and questions to the board. With that, I would invite the applicant or his representative back up to review what some of the findings are.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, for your time tonight and for accommodating us on the holiday week. I am Ryan Proctor. I work for Dillis & Roy Civil Design Group. I'm here again representing the owners and the applicants, Raymond and Gloria Clouthier. Ray is in the audience with us tonight, and their project at 37 Pearl Street. Just as a quick reminder, this project we're before you tonight for is a special permit to modify an existing non-conforming single-family structure. In this case, we're proposing to remove the structure and construct a new single-family house on the property. We're proposing to construct a new house and maintain the existing non-conforming distance. So the existing structure on the lot today is 9.9 feet off of the northeast property line, the side yard. And we're proposing to maintain that distance with the new structure. As indicated on the proposed plan I submitted, we are proposing to relocate the house further away from Lake Shirley. That was done for two reasons. One, from a conservation standpoint, we want to relocate the structure away from the lake and keep it outside of the buffer zone as much as we could. Secondly, we wanted to accommodate the new sewage disposal system, which will be designed and installed between the new structure and Lake Shirley. At the opening public hearing, the board had asked that I provide some demarcation or indication of the proposed ridge height on the site itself so that you had the opportunity to go and observe that in the field. So at the end of last week, I did install a couple of pieces of PVC pipe, lean them up against a tree, and the top of that pipe is the highest point, the peak of the proposed structure. And then from that peak, it would taper down to lower ridge heights on the proposed house as indicated on the architectural plans that I supplied to your board. While we were out there with the survey crew, we did locate the ridge heights of two abutting structures. The one on the site plan at 33 Pearl Street, which is up north and northeast of the proposed structure. 33 Pearl Street, the ridge elevation of that is approximately 350. Our proposed ridge height is 340, so we're approximately 9 feet below that two-story house that, if you're looking at the lake, is right to the left of our site. Additionally, we located the ridge height of 32 Pearl Street, which is, if you're looking at the plan, more or less straight up. It's diagonally across Pearl Street, and the ridge height of that structure is approximately 352. So again, we're a little over 10 feet below that elevation. Mr. Chair, that's all I have for new information tonight. If you have any questions on that or anything I submitted originally, I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, you mentioned that the septic system. So have you been on the Board of the Health and the Conservation, and that's what they came up with for the site?
So this is our initial design. We have appeared before the Board of Health. They did vote to approve our local upgrade approvals that we were seeking last Monday. We have a couple of cleanup revisions relative to the actual design, some notes on the system. However, geometrically, the house and the driveway and septic system have remained in the same spot, and we are set to appear before conservation on Wednesday.
Okay, where was the old septic system? Was in that closer to the lake, or?
It's actually closer to the lake than the proposed system, so it's within the 50-foot wetland offset.
So the conservation asked, did they ask you to move it back further, or?
That was a request from Jim Gariffi at Neshoba Board of Health when we were soil testing. The intent, he wanted to keep everything outside of the 50-foot if we could, and
Right.
that's ultimately what forced the house to be pushed back as far as goes.
Okay, so that's kind of forcing the house back further?
Yes, between the septic and the wetland buffer.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is, the contour of that land down there, that where the house sits now,
Yep.
is probably the lowest spot in that whole area.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like everything else. And even when you go back on that property by moving the house back, the topography of the land actually slants up.
Correct.
And I would say, just looking at it, I mean, I don't know if this, but I would say that just moving that back on the land brings the house up maybe 8 feet to 10 feet.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Yep.
I think so too.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I've got a few other questions, but I'd rather have some of the board. I did want to make sure the board, did you all see this picture?
Yes.
Okay. And I think also we got, in your mail, you got pictures of the pole. So I think you've got a pretty good idea of the height from there. Okay, with that, I will open it up to the board, and then I'll come back.
When I was over there, I noticed the pole with the difference in contour looked almost as if it was about the same height as the building on the left, but you said it was about 8 feet lower.
Yeah, it's deceiving, yeah, so the top of the pole is about the gutter line, roughly, of that house next door.
And the people that live at 32 Pearl Street right now only have a view from the higher point, I think, and the one next to them, if they own both properties, have no view of or almost no view of the lake. So that really isn't much of a difference for them. They said they could only see from the second story of their house, I think, out onto the lake, so they aren't really losing much, I don't believe.
It's pretty restricted now. We might be impacting a portion of that. We are above the bay window on the first story that was mentioned at 32 Pearl Street, but I believe we're below the second story windows, as you said.
Thank you.
Other question, excuse me, other question from the board? Hearing none right now, I'll go back to some of mine. To try and bring the height, when you move it back, now, are you gonna have a walkout basement?
There will be a walkout on that lower
Walkout
level.
basement?
Yes.
So you're gonna cut into the land?
We are, so pretty much
Towards
that bottom, I'm sorry, the bottom of where that pole is installed on that tree, that's approximately the garage elevation.
That's where it would be, okay.
Right.
That's what I was wondering, because I thought to try and mitigate some of it, if you weren't, we could do that, but you're doing it for the walkout.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
And then, can I just ask you, Mr. Chairman, can I ask the
Yes.
applicant, so what was, you're saying, so we're looking at this, correct? This right here.
Yes,
So where you have that pole for those trees is about this, is gonna be this height?
that's
Is that
right. It's
correct?
the highest point on that top
Yeah.
portion of the plan. That's
So
right.
this one right here?
That's correct,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then what was that height again? 23 feet?
It's approximately 23 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the height restriction in that Residence A district is 38 feet, correct?
That's the maximum height in
Yeah,
that
so you're
district.
like 15 feet below what you could do.
We're well below it, yes. Yep. Yeah, it's just a single-story house we're proposing.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, no, the poles just help out a little bit, I'm sure, for not only for you, for us. and for the abutter too, so. Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Anybody else who'd like to ask anything at this point?
Can I just clarify one thing? So the house next door, so is that one like 31 feet to the peak? Is that, I know you were going by,
Yeah, so height is defined by, in your bylaw, that ground elevation, nearest adjacent ground elevation to the highest peak, so we don't have that ground elevation, so strictly elevation, we're below that. I couldn't tell you the height of that structure, as it's defined in your bylaw,
okay.
sorry.
But the house on the left, if you're looking at the house, your house,
Yep,
the house on the left sits high on the hill,
it does, yep,
really high on the hill.
yep.
Yeah, most of the houses I point out, that's like the lowest spot. I
Right.
looked all around. It's
Right.
absolutely the lowest.
Right.
It seems like everything contours down to that area.
And so, I just had one other question, I
Yeah.
don't remember if we had addressed it last time, but while we're on the subject of the septic, was there an issue with a septic in terms of like non-functioning, or is it just the house itself, the dwelling itself that's existing now is like obsolete?
So there was some discussion when we were testing relative to doing a tight tank, which is pretty common here. We elected to go with the treatment system here. The existing system, I don't have the exact age, but I know it's over 20 years old.
Yeah.
And my clients are looking to build a retirement home here, so they don't want to construct a new structure and then have to replace a septic,
Makes sense.
5 years
Okay.
down the road. Yep.
So I mean, that, obviously, the Board of Health, if you're gonna do a new structure, wants you to move it up to where you have it now placed on the plot plan.
That's right, and
Okay.
it would probably come up during conservation
Okay,
as well.
All right,
Yep.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Okay. Now I just had a few comments. I'm gonna wait right now. Do you have anything else you would like to add at this point?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I will invite the public. Anybody from the public would like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Nicole Kerouac. I live at 32 Pearl Street. Thank you for having the continuation and getting the post put up. I think it really does show the difference in height from the existing structure to the new. I do want to make a correction on what Mr. Bazgarski had said, because from 32 Pearl Street, I can look out my bay window, which is my ground level, as well as the 4 double-hung windows on our sunroom, and look over top the existing structure today and see Lake Shirley. So our biggest concern as an abutter is that now putting up a new structure here is taking the water view away from my property. And the, sort of the zoning board of appeals and what you're looking at is how it's affecting abutters' property. And I don't know if the design really considered the views that were happening around that space. So there's large gables, there's large ridge heights and stuff without actually any living space inside them. I don't know if the existing heights and slopes of those roofs really took into the consideration of what we're seeing, because we will, right now I can sit on my couch, I can look out, I can see Lake Shirley, and that will be absolutely completely gone once there's a gable that's 23 feet up, because as I last time, which I don't think that we saw, the difference of height, what's existing there today versus what is proposed. And I think the post shows that now. You see the garage, and then you see sort of that large post up there and the change. But I think overall, there wasn't any consideration for the spaces around. I did speak with some neighbors. 16 Pearl Street will lose sort of the avenue of view that they have there, as well as across the street. I believe it's 43, so I don't remember the name. But the house you're referring to that's just as tall, there is a setback here that's being maintained. But yes, okay, the setback's being maintained in plan. It's going up in height significantly. So the change in that there, I don't think that any of that is really considering how it's going to affect the neighboring properties and their values. Because for mine, I don't have a lakefront property, but I have a water view. And the minute someone goes to list that or to describe it, that's going to be one of the first descriptions, and now that's no longer going to be there when that structure is put up. So.
Okay. Any
And is it
questions?
clear? Sorry, I didn't, but it is, I definitely see it from my first floor. My second floor has 2 little dormer windows on it that are miniature that I'm sure I could see it from, but they're my kids' rooms and I don't even.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You said you could see it from the two upstairs bedrooms, but
And the,
looking down at the,
so from my bay window and the 4 double hung windows there, I can see.
Okay,
The-
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but on that was, as we had talked, that was an addition in 2019, correct?
The addition,
The addition above the garage.
and not the
where
bay
your son
window,
moved
though.
in.
The bay window's
No,
been
the
there
bay window,
since.
but the other window, 4 windows?
Yep,
Okay.
Yep.
And I will point out that you had to get a height variation on that as well.
right, we did, but we're not blocking anybody's view.
No, I know,
We're
I know. I'm just,
yeah, we have a hill behind us that's all our land.
right, it's all woods and hill,
Right, there's
Okay.
no one back there,
right,
so.
okay.
Can I ask you, when you look out your window, straight ahead, do you see the house that's to the left of where the applicant is? That tall, so right to the
The
left of
brown
them?
house.
Yeah, the house that sits on the hill that's directly probably across from you.
Yeah, I mean, they're across from my, yeah, yep.
So when you look out, you see them, do you have to angle a little bit to see, out to the lake to the applicant's view?
I mean, it's a bay window, like, it's 3-sided window with glass on all sides, so,
Okay. Because when I went down there, I looked at the pole.
Yeah, I have a
actually
photo
first
on
went
my
down there,
phone,
I
yeah.
thought your house was directly across the street from where this applicant's house is.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, they don't really have much of a view anyways,
Right.
because small house, you're looking right there, you kind of have to go sideways on either side to look at the view. And then when I received the photo, and I realized that you were diagonal from where that was, I went back down there
Mm-hmm.
and took a look at it, and then I realized, okay, I just wanted to see where you were coming from.
Yeah, I was saying, like, if
I thought
I-
it was the house down below.
yeah, the house, I know exactly, like, the house across the street from me, that's been there the whole time. Since I've owned that, I've lived in the house for 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
That view over top of that camp property has always been what I've seen. That's
Yeah.
what I bought. That's, so that's where I'm saying,
Yeah.
this structure is going to completely impede that. It's gone, I'd be lucky if I saw it if I sat on the ridge of my roof, at that point.
I'm sympathetic to your plight, but I'm also sympathetic to the fact that the applicant has the right to do what they want within the bylaw and the restrictions that, as long as they meet all the, the setbacks and the height restrictions and so forth. I mean, they could have gone higher, but they didn't. 23 feet is pretty reasonable, I would think, for a new structure. I mean, you look at any home that's being built in Lunenburg these days, 23 feet is not uncommon. And I understand that it takes your view away, but it's also, you gotta weigh the applicant's right to be able to build on their property.
And I understand that, and I also understand the fact that, that's a great spot to retire and have a home, but I challenge whether or not the design I just don't see the consideration that it took. I see 10 and 12 roof pitches to get me to a ridge height that nothing is even existing in that. This whole main floor with all these high peaks and gables, I don't know if it's vaulted ceiling, but a lot of that, it's just void space. It's not like they're living in that space. So part of me is just, I don't know if I really see that the design was done thoroughly in the fact and really respected the people around it. And as a homeowner, as someone who has a Board of Appeals that's going to listen, I think you guys need to hear that part and realize that, it's, again, maybe it's not necessarily like a model home, but whatever was selected there or can be built somewhere else, I don't think it's built specifically to the site and considering all of the pieces around it. And we don't have a designer here to talk, or to someone to talk about how that design took that in. I guess that's what I'm looking for, to understand that someone maybe did actually consider all of the views and stuff around, and that's where they got. I mean, I spoke last time about how I can't even tell on the architectural plans what's there today versus what's being built, and yes, the pole helped a lot to, bring that into consideration, but it makes me think that the design wasn't really done with what was considering what was there. I get moving it off the front of the water, farther away from the water, but as soon as you move all of that back.
Did you see this plan?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
you have seen.
Yeah, I've seen all of that, and I understand what's being built there, but I just, I'm not completely buying that it was done in...
I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that, you know, you were talking about all that.
What I
just wanted
didn't
to-
know is if someone had resubmitted, I had asked last time just to resubmit the plans to show like existing garages here, new one is there, but I think that they feel like they did that with the pole there, which, you know, that is what it is. I was just asking if anything else had been submitted, because I hadn't, between last week and this week, been out of the town to pick anything new up, because
Okay.
holidays, so.
Any other comments or questions? Well, neighbors? If not, what I'll do, I'll invite you back up. She asked some questions about other designs that you might have considered a law. So I would invite the representative, the architect back up to see if they explored anything else.
I can speak to the design a little bit, Mr. Chair, and I know, Ray, if you want to say something, feel free to as well. But when my clients, the owners, originally approached ATA Construction to design the house, the owners of the property had presented that they wanted a two-story house with the site design, and Andre Aho with ATA Construction actually came back with some different designs, and that's what they ultimately ended on, was the single-story house. So they have dialed that back already. The overall square footage of the house, we are constrained with the size of the lot and the buffer zone implications as well, so we are restricted in the square footage and the footprint of the house that we're able to put on there anyways. So that already is restricted by the septic design, by the zoning setbacks, and by the buffer zone on the property. So I think that those factors were involved and considered during the construction.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. I think I know the answer, but a small ranch house, what would be the average height? Do you know?
I do not know.
I would say I think it's 16 feet.
Okay.
16 to 18 feet. But, you know, I was just trying to figure out what could go there, but that wouldn't really fit the footprint of what we're talking about.
Yeah,
But I just didn't know if you knew offhand.
I don't. I think what the house that's presented is, when you compare it to some of the other houses on, not just Lake Shirley, but the other houses in town, is relatively modest. It's nice, it's going to be new, but.
Right, okay. Any questions for the board?
No, just to comment, it is a one-story structure, basically, because the family room and everything else is on the ground level. It's not as if you had a basement underneath and then going up. It's mostly
It's a one-
what would
yeah,
be
you consider it a
underground.
one-story, you're right. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none.
He wanted to, the
Does
owner
anyone
wanted-
else like to speak? You have to come up if you'd like to. And give your name and address, please.
My name is Ray Cluthier. My wife and I are the owners of 37 Pearl Street. We currently live in Bolton, and it's a large house. We want to downsize and build our retirement home, basically. We wanted to try to move into the camp. I call it a camp because it's got almost flat roofs and everything, and that's why you can see right over it, because it's got a real low profile. And it has a lot of issues that we have been trying to address. It's got mold issues, it's all musty. Everything we had in there was, it smelled. We've been doing loads of laundry. So we've been trying to fix things up. And then I enlisted the assistance of a contractor, and he told me the best thing I can do is knock it down and build a new house. And that's where we started the ball rolling for all of this. And we're just trying to get, like you said, a modest home so I can retire in and utilize the property best we can. We restricted every which way we go. We got to put the septic in a certain distance from the water. We got to sidelines and everything, and the footprint is only where it can go. I can't even move it inches even. It's what it is. I'm not trying to block the view. This is just the way it ended up. I was kind of hoping they'd still be able to see alongside of us, because they are diagonally across, the house directly across, two-story, and that's what I kind of wanted to do initially, and the contractor, like Ryan said, talked me out of it and says, keep it modest and low, and it should be no problem. And that's why we're here now. So, but we've invested a lot already to do soil testing and site work and plans and everything to get this going, and my wife's beside herself to, we're not further along. We've already been into this for 4 months now, and nothing's happened, so I'm just concerned that, this is going to be a real problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion from the board? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the special permit to raise the existing structure and construct a new dwelling on the property. And the finding is that that such an alteration or change will not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use of the neighborhood. So,
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. I will call for a vote. Jane?
Aye.
aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Aye.
And I. Okay, with that, the special permit is granted. I do have to read a post decision. Okay, the special permit is granted with the contingency that the petitioner complies with all licenses, regulations, statutes, ordinances of any and all applicable local, state, federal boards or agencies with jurisdiction over the premises. The special permit is subject to periodic review by the permit granting authority or the enforcement officer to ensure compliance with any conditions. Non-compliance to such conditions may result in revocation of this permit. A copy of the board decision shall be filed with the town clerk within 14 days. Any party aggrieved by the board's decision may appeal to Superior Court 20 days after the decision is filed with the town clerk. After certification by the town clerk that 20 days have elapsed since the decision was filed, you should have it recorded in the Registry of Deeds. No special permit shall take effect until it has been recorded, and the special permit shall lapse within 2 years unless substantial use of construction has commenced. And with that, the special permit is granted. Thank you.
If there's nothing else, Mr. Chairman, coming before the board, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With that, this meeting is closed.